Bonjour! It's House of Decline, this French edition. It's because we're getting all international, but also continental. Here is Alex, and it's also Steven.
Hello. Bonjour, I should say.
Bonjour, and we have a very special guest from Big Shiny Takes, the Big Shiny Takes podcast. It's Eric Wickham.
Oh, hello, gentlemen. I really appreciate the invite. I didn't expect it, and I really appreciate it. Big fan, long time. First time?
Thank you.
I don't know how that goes.
Big fan, long time, first time. And we have you on because there's been some Canadian issues cropping up.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to talk about them in relation to COVID and politics and QAnon and anti-maskers and all that. But Eric, for people that don't know, what's Big Shiny Takes all about?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So Big Shiny Takes is a bi-weekly podcast with two of my friends from journalism school, Jeremy Appel, who writes for The Sprawl Calgary, and Marino Greco, who's a genuinely good boy. We take two of the worst takes of the week that we find in Canadian newspapers, and we sort of pit them against each other, and then at the end of the episode, we decide which one is worse for the country as a whole. It's kind of a fun time to do this because media in Canada is imploding, and all the newspapers are firing people, and it seems like the only people that are sticking around are these intellectually bankrupt morons that get paid a lot of money. So it's a fun time to be critical of media.
Oh, yeah. Well, because the major owner of all media in Canada, especially, is this one conservative conglomerate, Post Media Limited. And they really traffic, as I called them when I was on your show, fops. They really traffic in opinion fops, which your show is great at exposing. And I was on an episode recently where we talked about two good law fops, Howard Levitt and Bruce Party. But, you know, you've exposed me to fops that I didn't even know existed, like John Kay and his mother Barbara Kay, and how, you know, that weird Buster Bluth, Lucille Bluth relationship. I thought that was very interesting, so I'm very glad about that. Did you guys cover the Rosie DiMano freakout?
Oh, yeah, we did. It might have ended up being a bonus episode. We did it with one of our old classmates. I think the episode was called A Fucking Abomination, because that was...
A fucking abomination.
Because that was like the end of Rosie DiMano's email to some higher up at the Toronto Star after she found out that there was going to be an ombuds person focused on racial issues in the newsroom.
Oh, my God.
She decided that was massive oversight and would inhibit her ability to do her job for some reason.
Yeah, she's greenwalding. She's it's, you know, any sort of oversight is bad, because I have my tenure, and I shall not be corrected.
To greenwald, though, you must also, at the same time you're doing all of your stuff, is like try to ingratiate yourself with a new generation. Which I think is the grossest and weirdest thing that Glenn is doing right now, which is like...
Oh, doing the fellow kids meme?
Yeah, like, you know, he listens to TrueAnon, which is...
Lame.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about TrueAnon.
I like TrueAnon. I think they're funny as hell. I think Grace bullies a lot of people on the internet. And
I'm not
cool.
a big fan of the continuation of the blood libel conspiracy theory, especially after reading how it started.
Oh, what is the blood libel conspiracy theory? I don't know about that.
That there are a group of people, whether it started off as Jews, sacrificing children for blood.
There you go.
Which is basically what they're accusing Epstein of doing, or Hillary Clinton, or whatever. Started during the Black Plague. They were
it's just morphed into adrenochrome, right? That's what adrenochrome is all about. You know? It's the child blood again.
So yeah,
the purest blood of all. What if it turned out that child blood was actually like the dirtiest blood of all? Like, they just have, you know, they have all these child germs. Like if you drink child blood, you will die faster. It's like poison.
Oh man, someone better tell Clinton, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are hot takes, you know. That's why Bill Clinton, you know, How does he look like that? If he's got the adrenochrome, then why is he rapidly decaying more so than other presidents?
Yeah.
Why is his face melting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like he's in Last Crusade when the guy chooses the wrong Holy Grail, and he looks about halfway through that right now.
We watched that on
Maybe
slow-mo.
just Hillary Clinton just yelling at him every day is just taking a toll on him, because this is my punishment. This is what I deserve. Just going for walks out in the woods and then, scratching his back with a cat o' nine tails. I don't think Bill Clinton is that remorseful. Anyway, Eric, we have you on specifically to talk about a thing that's been going on with a Toronto chain of restaurants called Adamson Barbecue. I say chain, there are 2 locations, but this one is happening at the second location. Never follow anyone to a second location, especially Adamson Barbecue. So, Eric, can you take us through what's been going on with Adam Skelly and Adamson Barbecue?
Oh man, so I think I should preface this in that I am completely obsessed with this story, and I probably shouldn't be. I mean, like, part of the issue is everybody's paying attention to this guy who clearly wants everyone's attention, but it's so hard to look away. One, it's happening in Etobicoke, which is, I mean, like a suburb of Toronto. But okay, let me preface everything. Okay, November 21st, I believe, was when Ontario, specifically Toronto and like the Peel region around Toronto, went into a lockdown. So that was like a Saturday, and then on Monday or Sunday night, this guy named Adam Skelly, who owns a couple restaurants in town, decided to go on Instagram and say a bunch of things like, enough is enough, this lockdown has hurt too many businesses for too long, I am going to be opening up tomorrow, and you should all come. And so, I mean, the who's who of right-wing dirtbag reporters in the city showed up, along with, some actual professionals who then got shouted at by the mob of angry Etobicoans. I don't know what the word Etobogans.
Etobicocks.
Etobicokeans.
Well,
Cokie Roberts.
Cokie Roberts. So,
Yeah.
like, I have to be honest, like, Etobicoke has, like, a bit of a soft spot. I got a bit of a soft spot for Etobicoke. It's the home of current Ontario Premier Doug Ford, former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford, and then I don't know how I'd describe this guy, but Luca Magnotta also lived there.
Classic character, Luca Magnotta.
Yes, local celebrity.
Yeah.
So
Local scamp, Luca Magnotta.
yeah, the real rascal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there was like a media shitstorm on the Monday, and a bunch of very odd people decided that this was the hill that they were going to die on. They were going to fight for freedom and good Texas-style barbecue in the suburbs of Toronto. And I don't know, like, Stephen, like, you must have seen this from a bit of a distance. How odd has this entire thing been?
Not that odd. There's a rogue restaurant in Michigan. There's a part of the Big Boy chain. There's a rogue Big Boy now. And
He's a large boy now.
All the headlines are like rogue Big Boy. So the rogue Big Boy had to change its name because the Big Boy Corporation is pressing legal action for them staying open in defiance of the Department of Health. And so now they're the Sandusky Diner.
Oh, classy.
Yeah, so there's been a schism in the Big Boy world. So
some of the Big Boy franchisees are going to become Sandusky Diners?
Right. What's surprising to me about the Adam Skelly Adamson barbecue thing is this guy Adam Skelly, he looks like a plant, not like a like a vegetable. He looks like someone who was placed there. Like, how did this guy come to own this restaurant? And then, I mean, he kind of seems like he was, I don't know, seems shady in a way.
Well, I don't. I feel like I've heard rumors that he's actually comes from money, which is how he got his start. And the thing about Adamson barbecue, it's well reviewed. It's apparently the food is good for whatever. Not doing free, and here I am now because I'm talking about this. I'm doing free advertising and saying this guy's food is good, actually. So it's gotten into my fucking head as well. But yeah, I think his dad is wealthy. The thing is, when I looked him up, all I kept getting was these articles about his dad apparently created some sort of schizophrenia foundation because his brother committed suicide as a result of having schizophrenic ideation. But, so they're from Leaside, right? And the first, Leaside is one of the swankier areas of Toronto. Mm-hmm. It's where the money lives, and the first Adamson barbecue was started in Leaside, in the industrial part. Close to the Ontario Science Centre. And, so I do think there is this sort of privilege that this guy is taking advantage of. He can do this because he knows that even if he didn't get all the press and all the GoFundMe legal funds from it, he still would have been able to rely on this well of Trustafarian money.
Yeah. And I do want to preface more talking about Adam Skelly in that he is like the perfect representation of like a dumb entitled Toronto kid. Like he has all the markings of like a guy who would get kicked out of a hockey game for like punching the ref. Like he has I can't stand him. And I mean, he's also really good at getting the media to pay attention to him. If you scroll back on news, like Google News alerts about Adamson barbecue, eventually you'll see him like reviewing the best 10 sandwiches or like the thank you note that he sent after the lockdown happened, and I mean then you'll also see his takes on on what he actually thinks of coronavirus and him refusing to apologize about that back in April. But I mean, he knows how to get people to pay attention to him, and he definitely found his audience this past week.
Yeah, I mean, QAnon people like to rally around something, and, barbecue strikes at that very down-home attitude that, barbecue goes right to the core of our values as North Americans, right? It is representative of our spirit, our right to eat fatty, cured, slow-roasted meats. It's part and parcel of that entire experience. We're getting back to America, right? We're getting back to JFK Jr. We're getting back to the good America before the pedophiles took over. But what they don't know is that they were always pedophiles, It was always... JFK was a pedophile. No, that's libelous. Maybe he was. I don't know.
You can't.
Did JFK fuck anyone under 18 ever?
You can't label the dead. I don't know. I haven't explored that question. I am searching for Adam Skelly that earlier in the pandemic, he was having anti-COVID meltdowns on social media. There's a post from the Toronto Reddit from a while ago, 215 days ago. It doesn't give me the date. So 2/3 of a year ago, Adam Skelly
in the pandemic
has an anti-COVID meltdown on social media, calls others retards, and it's him just calling everyone retard for
probably download it to hell
for saying that it has a 3% fatality rate, which I believe so far it does technically have a 3% fatality rate, even though we're undercounting the number of asymptomatic cases, so it's less than it's at least half that, I would say 1.5, which would place it in the range of being more deadly than the flu, as we all know.
I mean, it is also very highly infectious, and having to deal with many highly infectious diseases is bad.
And it also makes you hate barbecue, which is why he's fighting.
It doesn't matter.
He's fighting. He has to fight COVID.
Do you think these people are like gunning for I guess they don't even believe the coronavirus really exists, or don't believe it's as harmful as the government is saying, and the government is using it as an opportunity to increase control over everything. And I guess what do they call it? The Great Reset? That's what they're obsessed with now.
Yes.
So this is a thing. Trudeau said the Great Reset
He actually said it?
Yeah, he said the phrase "Great Reset," and in response to, in response to, in intervening in this crisis, we have a chance to remake the Canadian economy to be better for working people. Was the sentiment, right? Even though Trudeau's not going to do that because he's a feckless lib, but he knows how to talk the talk, or at least he knows how to read speeches that are put in front of him. But people have been taking this Great Reset phrase to be like, the New World Order. This is very New World Order.
And they do think that whoever is in power wants to ban eating meat and make everyone eat bugs. They think that.
Well, we have the McPlant now,
right?
What is
this, bugs?
McBugs. We have the McGrasshopper, McCricket.
I want to eat cow.
It's going to happen soon enough. We already eat bugs. People are going to rationalize it. You eat lobster, and that's just a large bug, so why not eat the small ones?
Yeah, I eat the spiders.
Think of them as tiny lobsters.
I eat spiders,
Yeah.
It's normal.
Hold me closer, tiny lobster. That's what I say as I caress Jordan Peterson's face,
The new theory, just sidetrack on Peterson Watch, the new theory is that he has just really bad brain damage. I think I've seen.
You think so?
Yeah, he's just completely brain damaged, and that's why he's put out another 12 rules.
That would make that book so much fun to read.
I'm really curious if the first rule is like, don't do benzos,
right?
Or is he just gonna trust me, this shit ain't worth it, kiddo. I mean, that's what I think the reason why I'm also obsessed with Jordan Peterson is because there's this idea that if he did change, or if he did suddenly come to this epiphany. And because he's coming to epiphanies constantly, it's not out of the question. I've been wrong this entire time. Suddenly, I love trans people now. There's always going to be that Scrooge moment that I hope happens, or Grinch moment with Jordan Peterson, where his heart grows 3 sizes, and then he preaches to his audience. We don't need to hate this, microscopic minority of people in order to make ourselves feel good. It's okay. You can love yourself, white guys. It's okay.
I mean, depending on how this book sells, that might be his move.
I don't think that's his move. I think he's got to stick to this. But that's the question is, so the Tea Party sort of dissolved, after Obama. And the current version of the alt-right is probably, as we know it, the Pepe alt-right is probably going to dissolve into something else. So that's the question of what form will it take in the Biden presidency. I think it's going to be very QAnon. I think QAnon is going to escape the Trump bounds, and that's going to start becoming the inner workings of a lot of the GOP machine. I think Glenn Greenwald is way off when he says that it's a distraction. I think it's going to be a very huge motivating political force in the next few years.
Well, that's going to be nuts.
I mean, even looking at the right-wing reactionaries that showed up at Adamson over the past week.
QAnon guys.
I mean, I saw some photos. I saw Kevin Johnston there.
Which one's Kevin Johnston?
Kevin the Jackal Johnston is like a local doughy idiot from Mississauga, which is another Toronto suburb. He ran for mayor of Mississauga. He actually came second, which is more concerning than you'd think, because he accused the current mayor of the city of trying to introduce Islam to the city so she could kill her gay son. He also got sued by a restaurant franchise owner. His name's Mohammed Faqih, because he harassed his family and called him a terrorist at the local shopping mall. He was there at Adamson Barbecue, on top of Kevin the Jackal Johnston, and I mean Joe Warmington and Brian Lilly and all the
Joe
idiots.
Warmington is he's a fedora wearing Republican op-ed person.
Yeah.
Does he wear a fedora? His Avi wears a fedora, so I assume he wears a fedora.
It's like his persona is the scrawler. For those who don't know, Joe Warmington is like the dumbest man to ever write a column, and I have a lot of love in my heart for him because he's so bumbling, and like I don't think he knows how stupid he comes across, but like he's a lot of fun. But he was there as well, and he was basically running like just like what's the word? He was doing marketing for Adamson Barbecue for the entire week, which was a lot of fun because like he's the one who filmed Skelly getting arrested. On top of Kevin Johnston being there, though, like Paul Fromm was there, and it's kind of like a deep cut, but he's sort of Canada's racist. Like
Canada's racist.
And he would probably be excited about that as his name. He was like a high school teacher that was like fired for his white supremacist views.
Fired for truth.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, Paul Fromm was there too, wearing a trench coat, being weird and old.
Oh my god.
So I mean, it was kind of like a perfect storm, this entire Adamson thing.
A perfect storm front, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Fromm had a show on Stormfront for a while. Like he did like an online radio show.
Was he? Did he go into the restaurant? Well, let's say what happened. So this guy Adam Skelly, he says he's going to defy the restrictions and open up the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And it takes the police a while to go shut it down, right? But they do.
Yeah, it takes them about 3 days to put locks on the restaurant.
Is that when the supporters start gathering? Maybe the day after?
No, the supporters started gathering on the first day. So, so what happens is the call goes out that restaurants need to be shut down. It's not even shut down. They just can't do indoor dining. That's what it was all about. He was opening up his spot for indoor dining. That's literally all this comes down to, is that they couldn't do one form of dining.
I gotta eat in the presence of men. I must eat in the presence of other men.
Yes, we must have our community at Adamson Barbecue. You wouldn't close down Cheers for a pandemic, would you? You wouldn't force Norm to drink alone, would you? You know. So the first day, protesters start gathering because they're anticipating, the cops to hassle. I think I don't know the exact timeline, but fines are laid. He continues serving people anyway. The second day, they put locks on the doors. They Adamson Barbecue busts open the locks. There's lots of protesters, people getting barbecue there. The third day, I think, after, issuing a $100K fine and putting locks on again, they finally cart him away, of which there's footage that wonderful Mr. Warmington took. So, and there were protesters for, like, all 3 days while this was going on. I think the restaurant is the restaurant still open? I'm not sure.
I think it's shut down now. I think they found out that Skelly was operating this Etobicoke location without a business license as well. So he was just breaking rules left and right.
Doesn't like the government.
Well, that's probably why these goofy right-wing assholes have sort of latched onto this story. Is that, I mean, this is like the first time in this pandemic where they could point to like a white business owner as some sort of oppressed subject of the government, and like they jumped on it, and they jumped on it hard. And I mean, I think it does tie into the whole Trudeau Great Reset conspiracy thing, where they're like, Trudeau is doing that to this man, even though
Trudeau's trying to outlaw barbecue and make us all eat bugs.
Which, I mean, like, there's a hole in that. I mean, the premier is Rob Ford's brother Doug, who's a very conservative man,
also a fond lover of barbecue.
Yeah, and it's weird seeing conservative media in this country sort of have to pick a side between their boy in office and their boy who makes the good sandwiches. It must be a real moral quandary.
I think they're coming down on the sandwiches because no matter.
Did the premier Ford go? Is he not in favor of the barbecue guy?
Well, the first day he was actually very, very sympathetic to him. He said, like, I can't come down hard on this guy. He's trying to run a business. Blah 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 blah. I hope he doesn't open tomorrow. And then when he opened the next day, then the next press conference was, he really shouldn't have done that. He's a real knucklehead, bunch of like weird platitudes. And then the third day when Adamson tried to open up again, he got arrested.
on that day, so he got arrested, right? And then as an act of good faith, so CBC says, they let him into a back area, right? Or what?
Yeah.
Or is this before he got arrested, and this is why he gets arrested?
So
Did you
he was allowed back in like the back area to collect personal belongings or something.
And then he broke through the drywall to get into the main part of the restaurant, and then smashed the locks that they had put in because they had changed the locks, and threw the doors open and invited everyone in. And I think that's when they really arrested him, right?
Yeah.
That's the bit. Like there was a drama that played out basically. Because he did it this second order level of defiance to break
He's a showman.
Yeah, that's when the story caught my attention. That's when I think it really started hitting the news in America. Because when the image of a guy breaking through his own drywall, it's like who do you think's going to pay for that?
Well, apparently these GoFundMe cucks, who are giving him like he's already raised like well over 6 figures for legal fees, so he's gonna be well funded. I don't worry for this guy.
If you get it together with enough people reporting on the GoFundMe, you can get GoFundMe to pull it. So anyone with enough clout should organize a reporting campaign to mass report the GoFundMe.
Just DDoS attack GoFundMe.
This is what the woke people are accused of doing this a lot, so maybe it's not a great thing to continue doing. But if you go after the payment processors, that also can get people to pull things down. So if this the fact that there is a actual white nationalist at this event, that's a reason enough for me to say you could probably try to start threatening GoFundMe.
But people in general don't believe Nazis exist. They don't think these guys are actually white nationalists. They just think, they're very far right, you know?
I think a lot of people in America believe that Nazis exist now.
I can't tell if it's just my cohort or is it... Because I feel like when I try to think of the normie mind, I adjust for, people thought the Nazis were defeated in 1945, and it could never happen in America because it was America that defeated the Nazis. I think that's the logic that a lot of people operate on, which is why I assume it's hard to convince them that Nazis... But even if it's Nazis, the old guard of boomers are like, Nazi speech is fine, right? So, it's, what can you do about it?
Yeah.
We need to protect Nazi speech so that we can see it, because if we see it, then we will be able to refute it better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that logic holds.
Yeah, no one's going to be dumb enough to believe it, Except for all those other people that are wearing the same shirts over there,
Yeah.
Well,
it's almost as if
Matt Taibbi was trying to make that argument this last week about, Matt Taibbi's the free speech absolutist, so he comes down hard on the, is it Popper that has the paradox of intolerance, where you can't tolerate the intolerant? Yeah, Taibbi hates that. Free speech absolutist.
Yeah.
Well, because Taibbi still subscribes. You know what I think it is? It's the liberal, as in like Voltaire liberal reliance on Lockean reliance on logic and reason. Sort of that Enlightenment era idea that anything can be rationalized, any idea at least can be rationalized away. But the thing about the fascist argument is it's not a rational argument. It's an argument that argues from a place of pathos, which is why you can't rationalize it away, which is why you can't have a debate about it, because you're not actually debating ideas, you're debating emotion, you're debating anger, you can't really reason that away. And I think that the implication of institutions like the ACLU or someone who says that Nazi speech should be protected is that it can succumb to reason when it can't. And I think someone like me who thinks that maybe we should suppress Nazi speech is that people aren't likely to seek it out unless people are more likely to go down that path if it is shouted at them, if it is offered to them. But when it's not offered to them, they aren't.
I would agree with that.
I don't really see a danger behind it, but maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No,
come up with counter arguments.
You're 100% right, and I'd like to use this as an opportunity to plug my podcast as the world's first anti-free speech podcast, Big Shiny Takes. Check it out, bigshinytakes.com.
Anywhere
Big
you can
Shiny
find
Takes,
podcasts, it's available. On iTunes, on Spotify. Is it on SoundCloud? You guys get on that SoundCloud?
I don't think we're on SoundCloud, and we also don't have as cool of a theme song as you guys.
No, you have a nice theme song.
You can commission one. $300,000. That's how much we paid for that theme song. It's crazy. We're in debt. We're in a crazy amount of debt right now.
I depleted my entire trust fund. Just kidding. There's still a lot more. So, Adamson barbecue. I also think this is an interesting story because of the political flashpoint around it. Because you have this combination of QAnon, Nazis, sort of glasses-wearing truck dads, libertarians, but you can really see this new political bloc fomenting these. These are the people that Maxime Bernier wanted with the PPC, but couldn't get traction because he sucks.
Yeah, he's also like super uncharismatic, and also like the people that would like him are also bigoted against French people. So probably
there you go.
Help him either. But honestly, like, would you be super surprised to see Adam Skelly running as a PPC candidate next election?
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, he's probably he'd win. He's going to run as a PPC candidate in Etobicoke, and he's going to win.
Etobicoke Central, the heart of Ford Nation, you know.
Mm-hmm. Ugh. And you might see, like, while the PPC is a joke right now, Maxime Bernier, if they start running more Anglos. Maybe. No, I think the PPC is always going to be a joke. I think it's roundly been rejected because I think even these Nazis that attended Adamson barbecue, they're still voting conservative. They know they're not going to get any traction with the PPC, and the conservatives basically do the same thing. So what you going to do?
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably fair. It's
we have smarter Nazis in Canada, is what.
Well, you know what? That actually like. That's one of those points that I kept seeing on Twitter. Is I kept seeing Americans getting surprised that there were boorish, uncouth Canadians shouting outside of a restaurant demanding more barbecue and stuff. And it's like, no, like you can believe what you want about Canadians, but I mean, I know a lot of dumb people here. Like, I would say most of the people I know, most of the people I grew up with are kind of dummies.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's I hope this shattered people's expectations of what Canadians were like.
We want our queue. Can't do it at the queue.
I thought you guys liked jerk. I thought you guys were all obsessed with jerk chicken.
We are in the good parts of the city.
Better, it's better.
Yeah. That's everyone should go to. Let's recommend some Toronto restaurants that are good and also complying with orders, like Albert's Fine Foods famous jerk chicken. I also stand Mr. Jerk. There's good Mr. Jerk down at Wellesley and Jarvis. Check them out; they're great. And also Stockyards. Stockyards Barbecue is a barbecue place that's cool. Very good barbecue. Not Dick's. Go to Stockyards.
Yeah, and
Stockyards.
If you're in the suburbs, a little bit west of Adamson Barbecue, check out Charlie's for some good roti. There we go. Restaurants that what? Not a big roti guy?
No, I love no. I'm saying non-Nazi restaurants. I just moaned because I'm a moaner.
Oh, I was just like, oh my god.
So roti is non-Nazi?
Typically.
Well, yeah, it's hard to because it's Caribbean.
There's a
Nazis
pun in there.
Typically.
I guess I was using non, but never mind.
Non-Nazi.
I thought roti was also Indian.
It is, but I don't think they use naan in the Caribbean version. They don't use naan in the Caribbean version.
No.
Do they?
No.
No, the bread is called roti.
Yes.
That's where it comes. The flat bread that they use is the roti, but a roti is filled with potatoes.
Okay, but roti is
meats.
from India.
Yes.
Okay.
I think
So
it's
my
from the
pun
Caribbean. Okay.
Roti being non-Nazis
But it's not made of naan. It's its own bread.
Is funny and it's cool. It's funny
It's
and
really
cool.
funny. It's funny and good.
I think it was a good pun.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
But something. You could do non with anything. I'm gender non-conforming. I'm bread. Okay, that's bad. I'm
No, that's
sorry
good.
about
That's
that.
good. I'm stealing that.
No, because I don't want to. Although I do, if it wasn't horrifically insulting to identify as bread, I would, because I am. I'm a big piece of bread. That's who I am.
You can
but
be sexually
yes,
bred.
trans listeners, don't hate me. I'm sorry. I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah, well, Alex
I'm a
is
fucking moron.
He is like a piece of bread.
Yeah. I'm all bread all the way down. Bread tube, my body is a bread tube. That's it. I'm spongy, I'm doughy, I'm filled with holes, I'm filled with little holes.
Did you guys ever take those like white bread slices and just sort of crush them into a little ball, a little smooth ball? You ever do that?
Yeah, I did that a lot as a kid.
And
I made bread balls.
Make bread balls and take little bites out of them?
Yeah. What you do is you cover them in butter and you fry them up.
What?
Oh my god.
And you got fried bread balls. See, you should buy food for me. You should buy my bread balls. Fuck Adamson barbecue. I'm opening up the bread ball factory for my apartment.
Just pull up like right in front of Adamson barbecue. Just pop your trunk and start frying up some bread balls.
Oh man.
Hey, you can't have bread shaft without the bread balls. That's my catchphrase. That'll be our official motto. And then a guy opens up a bread shaft cart next to me. And, wow, why didn't I? I guess baguettes are just a bread shaft when you think about it.
Yeah.
Submarine sandwiches. How do you want your bread?
Bread shaft.
Yeah, so I guess start calling baguettes bread shafts.
Go to Subway and order a bread shaft.
Steven, you said you had a story about a restaurateur. Was that the big boy story?
Yeah, no, that's just the big. I mean, the big boy going rogue.
It's like the Simpsons episode where all of the 50-foot eyesores come to life, and the Lard Lad Donut Boy is running throughout town. I'm just picturing, the horrific visage of the 1950s cartoon character Chubby Big Boy running amok throughout. Where is this rogue Big Boy? Is it in like Battle Creek, Michigan? Or
no,
something
it's
like that?
not. It's in like a Detroit suburb. I'm pretty sure.
Nah, it's pretty funny.
I think
rampaging through Livonia.
I think there was another couple of restaurants going up against the lockdown, but Michigan's lockdown got kind of nuked by our Supreme Court, stripping the governor of her ability to implement lockdowns. So the pandemic's just been getting worse and worse here because we haven't been able to have a real lockdown. We're like one of the only states without an emergency order. Like we're not in a state of emergency, which is not great because
of freedom.
Yeah, luckily one of the small victories the Democrats had was we flipped the Supreme Court of Michigan to be Democrats. So that's nice. That's some electoralism working on the state level.
We're big electoralism fans here at House of Decline. Well, actually, probably more than every other podcast I listen to. We probably have more faith in the system. Not faith in the system, but at least it can work. You just gotta have like a lot of fucking money and organizational ability, which is I'm not good at that, so.
Yeah, I have no money and no organizational capabilities, so I'm going to have to sit this one out, I guess.
Yeah, I'd rather pick up a gun and, just redo the whole system. Sometimes, some days, we all have our. That's the thing. Is the QAnon army is just a bunch of people doing Michael Douglas and falling down, but all at the same time. It's a mass falling down event.
My favorite bit of this Adamson barbecue thing, one was the guy who tried to hug Skelly as he was being carted away by the cops. This one man wrapped his body around Skelly so the cops couldn't arrest him. They ended up separating the two, and I think this guy was the only other person to be arrested at the scene because he got charged with like assaulting an officer, which I mean he didn't. He just hugged his new hero Adam Skelly. But my second favorite part was, for some reason, Toronto police decided to send the mounted unit in, and they had a bunch of horses lined up in front of the front door of this like shitty barbecue place, and all the weird, I think you called them glasses-wearing truck dads earlier, started blasting salsa music and having like a weird dance party in front of the restaurant in the parking lot. And it is like, it's like fever dream quality, like bad dancing, weird people, and then horses in front of a restaurant that, I don't know, like you need to see it.
Yeah, it's like a Jodorowsky movie.
It defies, and it was very novel to look at, if anything. Like it's probably bodes poorly for political discourse in this country that this entire thing happened. However, getting that moment out of all of this shit, I mean, silver linings, right?
Yeah, you obviously have to live for those absurd moments, like Trump kissing the flag at CPAC. That's amazing. It's amazing. Like, obviously, the last 4 years weren't worth that alone, but, we'll always have that.
Yeah, if you combine that moment with the time where there were riots going on in D.C. and he walked down to that church to hold up a Bible in front of it to take a photo op, and then I believe that reporter was like, "Is that your Bible, sir?" And he went, "It is a Bible."
Yeah, I think he was holding it upside down too.
Yes, he was also.
Just like held it up. Yeah. Here's a Bible. Wow.
Yeah,
and you could hear like sirens in the background, and
Yeah. Obviously, the Trump descent into madness was bad, but if you can't appreciate the absurdity of it, just kill yourself now, right? Why go on living if you can't appreciate how ridiculous it all is? That's what didn't Camus say something about that? Wasn't that something that Camus said?
The French philosopher Camus.
Yeah, when he was talking about the myth of Sisyphist.
Sisyphist.
The myth of Sisyphist.
Yeah.
He keeps putting his whole fist up, his boyfriend's asshole, only for it to be expelled each time.
His hands are too soft.
His hands are too soft.
And the goal is to keep it in there forever?
The goal is to keep it in there. Well, to get fully into his boyfriend's asshole.
Fully in.
But his fist is too sissy, so he's Sisyphist. It's like a vor fantasy, you see. Have we talked about vor on the show? Have we talked about voraraphilia on the show?
I believe when we were discussing Amy Klobuchar, we talked about vor. Cause
there's a lot of vor porn.
She's either into vor or people who are into vor are into her. Eric,
absolutely.
do you know what vor is?
I have to profess my
Don't Google it.
I'm going to Google it right now, vor. Actually. 1 second. That's a great idea.
Anal vor.
It's a fetish, a weird online Tumblr sort of fetish.
It's very ubiquitous as well. It's one where it's a sexual paraphilia where you fantasize about being entirely consumed by another person. There's lots of forms of it. There's oral vor, where you imagine being eaten by somebody. Sometimes you get digested as well. That's also sometimes part of the fantasy. There's anal vor, where you imagine going up somebody's asshole. genital vor of all stripes and varieties. Sometimes people imagine crawling into their foreskins.
Yeah, that one's harder. You have to
yeah.
stretch out your foreskin to do. These people are like stretching out their foreskins to envelop things with
that
it.
was unaired episode of the Fantastic Four. You know,
The Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
The Fantastic Four. Yes.
Oh
my god. You know, it's hard coming out of the gay closet to your parents, but try coming out of the anal vor closet to your parents.
Yeah. Dad, I want to
Mom, Dad, thank you for inviting me to Thanksgiving with my boyfriend, Tiny. The reason why he's so tiny is because I'm trying to fulfill a long-time dream I've always had. Mom, Dad, I'm anal vor.
So it's not really it's a fetish. It's not an orientation.
No,
So
no,
you can't.
It's not it
not,
would be funny if it
are
was.
you born
there's
into
gay,
anal
straight,
vor?
bi, pan, and anal vor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, Klobuchar
I've
likes
heard
to
of this
eat.
before.
She's into consuming people whole. So she's eaten people, we suspect.
Who? Who's into eating
Amy Klobuchar.
Amy Klobuchar. She's into consuming people whole.
We feel that she has consumed an aide or an assistant or two,
At least
and they're
one.
living inside of her. A lot, yeah.
What gave it away, though?
That booty. That booty is absolutely, that can only be achieved by having two people inside.
I thought it was when there was like a tiny hand that reached out and did sign language for help. It's like, help me.
Little cartoon sign
God.
in its hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that rules.
I miss Amy Klobuchar. I don't know. I hope she comes back onto the scene to vibrate with intense energy.
Her name was being floated around for Attorney General, which is really funny because it's like I feel the George Floyd stink is still on her. You know, she can't.
Well,
it's hard to avoid that.
Yeah, they are. You know, it seems like that movement has died down a little bit in terms of the media, at least.
Yeah, it will until the next one. You know, I don't think this Biden presidency is going to do anything to stop the frequency of these, and you know, another one is always just a month away. So,
right.
I don't want it to happen. I hope it doesn't happen, but it will because America is trash.
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting when the George Floyd trial actually starts. I don't think it's until 2021. That might set things off again, though.
Yeah, if Chauvin doesn't get effectively punished enough, if he doesn't even get a manslaughter charge, you know, people will probably. I think
they have him charged on some form of murder. I think.
Yeah, I think they have second-degree homicide. I think they something like that. But I don't know. I'm no legal expert.
You are our legal expert of the show.
They'll give law degrees to anybody. They gave one to me. They gave one to Derek Sloan. They gave one to Bruce Party. You know, they'll give one to fucking anybody. You know,
3 great Canadians.
Yeah.
No, I'm interested to see how the media covers the George Floyd trial, especially after, the last month or so has been kind of trying to gloss over Biden's voting record and all that fun stuff. So, I don't think things are going to get better in the States either. But,
Are you telling me that Mr. I don't want my kids to grow up in a racial jungle Biden has a bad voting history with criminal justice?
Shoot him in the leg. You know,
I'm gonna say Mr. Joe gave a eulogy at Strom Thurmond's funeral. Biden probably won't be the greatest thing to bridge the gaps in the States.
Man, the other thing is, like, once this Adamson barbecue shit will eventually blow over, but it's going to be really weird to have your clientele exclusively populated by QAnon and Nazi people. Like, you're just the Nazi restaurant now. You're where all the Nazis come to congregate.
They're like bi-weekly meetings.
Yeah, cheers for Nazis. Dun, da, 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 da. Dun, da, 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 da.
Oh, man.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. All of the Jews are all against you. They should all be shot.
So this guy from Rebel News, which is that a Canadian thing? Rebel News.
Yeah, that's a Canadian started by Ezra Levant.
So Ezra Levant, he tweeted about Adam Skelly. So, quote unquote, Adam Skelly is banned from social media. That's obviously unconstitutional.
That's stupid.
Is it?
I don't think there's anything in the Constitution about Twitter, but
hey, look, when in 1982, when Trudeau was hashing all this shit out, they were thinking certainly there are going to be microblogging platforms that people will need in order to talk about how the government is obscuring their barbecue. So that's why we have section 1714.5 of the fucking Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which says that you should not diminish barbecue.
So is it your Constitution? Is it the Charter of Rights and Freedoms?
Yeah.
Is that a part of the Constitution there?
It is a part of the Constitution. Our Constitution is made up of several components.
Is the Charter of Rights and Freedoms like our Bill of Rights?
It's similar, but it does form the basis of our constitutional law. We did have a constitutional framework that was different than the Charter of Rights and Freedoms prior to 1982, but it didn't really enumerate rights in even the way that the American Constitution does, which is why we had to have a new one. And this one is especially, the Canadian Charter is pretty woke, especially for having been made in 1982, because there's pretty much an actual affirmative action clause in it, Section 15.2, which is the one that says that, so Section 15.1 is, right to equal treatment, but Section 15.2 is like, if, someone by dint of their history is not treated equally, you need to treat them differently in order to get to equity. It's basically, the equity clause, you could call it. I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. But
You are.
yeah, but it's weird that this is another sort of thing that Bruce Party tries to ignore in his interpretations of it, where, especially when it comes to trans people, because Section 15.2 has a list of like enumerated classes, but also has like a catch-all term. Section 15 says that you won't discriminate based on race, gender, age. Lots of enumerated things, but gender expression isn't part of it. But it also has a catch-all term that says, I forget what it says exactly, but basically, any other thing that someone can be discriminated against, you have to take that into account when coming up with legislation.
Even being a Nazi, though?
Well, Nazis, it'd be funny if they tested somebody and they were genetically a Nazi. I was born this way. I can't help it.
Yeah.
I'm a goddamn Nazi.
Like Lady Gaga. That's what Born This Way is about.
It's, yeah.
And that would be funny if she was a Nazi.
changes my outlook on Lady Gaga.
Oh my
I can't get a date. 1488. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born.
I'm on the
Those
right
are the actual
track.
lyrics.
Yeah, I'm on the right track. She says she's on the right
track.
track. The right
track.
The right track. My God.
Yeah. There's just the version where she's just saying Vaterland over and over and over again. That would be funny if... Yeah. Lady Gaga, I don't think, is a secret Nazi. Pretty confident.
But Ezra Levant
Stephanie
is.
Germanotta.
Right? Ezra Levant is a secret Nazi, I guess.
He's a very
He's a
openly
Nazi-supporting
litigious,
Jewish guy.
if that counts. I mean, his news organization, Rebel News, was born out of the failure of the Sun TV network, which was Canada's attempt to sort of create a Fox News to push, right-wing conservative talking points. But that didn't work. So he tried out this whole internet news thing, and I mean, Rebel News is a bit of a mess, and Levant has sort of had a bit of a track record of hiring some some very interesting people. A guy by the name of Gavin McInnes, a lady by the name of Faith Goldie.
Okay, so he is a
Lauren
Nazi.
Southern.
He's a fucking awful dude. Then
he's a Jewish guy that will ally with Nazis in order to get his version of things. I don't want to call him a self-hating Jew, but I think he's one of those people that have effectively convinced themselves, like I've said before, that Nazis don't actually exist.
Yeah, well, Faith Goldie's pretty obviously.
Yeah, I think he ended up having to let Goldie and McInnes go for being to themselves. Actually, the last thing that Gavin McInnes did was he went on a trip to Israel with the Rebel News crew, and they were doing an interview in like the airport, and Gavin was like, I don't really know what the point of this was. I think I came back even more anti-Semitic than I was before. And he was making jokes about it, and then they then they let him go.
That's what finally got him. Yeah, because, Ezra Levant is definitely a pro-Israel guy,
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing is, like, as long as Nazis, like, as long as they're not talking about the Jews, as long as they're just talking about black people, the type of Jewish guy that Ezra Levant is fine with that, They think, they'll just stop at the black people.
Now that
once they're done with the black people, they'll stop.
We've broached the topic of Israel. So the other thing I wanted to talk about on the show was
Iran
and the assassination of their top nuclear scientist. I believe
that was a bunch of crazy shit that happened this week.
I can't remember his name. It's like I'm gonna have to look it up. Give me one moment.
Looking it up. Looking it up. It's Iran.
Starts with an N.
Iran nuclear scientist.
Oh no, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's Fakhrizadeh.
They killed him. Who killed him? Israel killed him.
Israel killed him. Apparently, it was a 62-person team. So, like,
that's a lot.
That's a military team.
Yeah.
They both blew up his car and shot it, and it's this is culminating after a long summer of mysterious explosions that have taken place all over Iran, targeting critical infrastructure, and
so Israel is just straight up invading Iran?
No, they're not invading. They're waging a covert war with U.S. backing. That's what I think. I've said this before on the show, and it's now they've done this after. It kind of started with the assassination of the general that Trump did. Mm-hmm. That kind of kicked everything off, and it looks like Israel's pushing for a confrontation with Iran before Trump is gone, because they think that Trump would maybe commit some help. They probably just want money, really.
Yeah. More military aid. Justify more military spending on Israel without actually having to start a war with Iran, which would be a fucking disaster for everybody.
This is what I'll put to both you guys, is whether you think this is an effort to start something with Iran or to sort of hamstring Biden so that Biden can't go back to the nuclear deal with Iran.
I think, the latter, for sure. No one wants a war with Iran. Least of all Israel, least of all Iran,
Well,
it's a nightmare scenario.
Counterpoint to that, I don't know. I think Israel, as you may have seen, Netanyahu and the Crown Prince bin Salman of Saudi Arabia had a secret meeting reported on maybe 3 or 4 days ago, which should make people in Iran scared, because if Israel has any kind of agreement with Saudi Arabia about forming an alliance, or at least a secret alliance against Iran, that's huge. Eric, have you?
Yeah, the Sunnis and the Jews teaming up against the Shia.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Eric, have you seen anything about this?
I mean, just headlines, really, and I got to be honest, my opinions on this whole thing are very unsophisticated. But I mean,
that's okay. So are mine. Don't worry.
With Netanyahu running the show, I wouldn't put anything past him. I don't know what this looks like in terms of motive or motivation for doing this, but it doesn't bode well.
Yeah. I mean, there is a strong argument to say that guys like Netanyahu are ideologically committed to this clash of civilizations thing and, are willing to abandon economic or self-preservation sense in order to pursue it. There is this idea that Iran, more so than any other countries that are the font of, international Muslim terror, including Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, for some reason Iran, even though they are by far, not by far, but by a significant amount, probably the most peaceful and, least shit-disturbing country when it comes to Muslim extremism. For some reason they've been the font of this class of civilizations mentality. They are the enemy, even though the enemy is guys like, I guess, and because it's all about nukes. The reason why they don't go after people in Pakistan is because Pakistan has nukes. And, they don't want, and this is still all about nukes. They still don't want Iran to have any fucking nukes. And, which is why I think it's more of the latter, hamstringing the nuclear deal, because once Iran has nukes, they can't do this covert op shit anymore. Mm-hmm. They're exercising their privilege to do it because Israel has nukes and Iran doesn't. So if Iran tries to fucking retaliate, Israel can be like,
Yeah.
Who's coming for? Pakistan's not coming for you. Well, Saudi's not coming for you.
Yeah, that's what's concerning about having a meeting with Crown Prince bin Salman, because if the Saudi Arabia gives sort of tacit approval to this Israeli campaign, that takes Saudi Arabia has a whole sphere of influence that Israel does not have to worry about retaliation. Mm-hmm. So that's very concerning. Although my prediction is that Crown Prince bin Salman has now put a price on his head, so to speak, for meeting with Netanyahu. Perhaps not as extreme as that, but if it goes further, if there is an alliance of any kind, my sort of far out prediction I've made is that we might see an assassination attempt on Crown Prince bin Salman for making an alliance with Israel, which has happened before.
But I don't know. I think what makes it different this time is the elite class of people like bin Salman are very, more so than ever, married to the idea of just letting American capitalism just invade the Middle East and are fine with it. Months ago you saw the UAE brokering peace deals with Israel in exchange for throwing Palestine under the bus. I think I think what's happening is we are seeing sort of the golden arches effect, the insidious effect of neoliberal capitalism, that it just presents people will go against these millennia-held civilizational struggles just as long as it means getting more trade into their country, which I think you saw with UAE months ago, and you might be seeing now with bin Salman's Saudi Arabia, But I don't know anything about this. I'm not a foreign policy person. I'm just speculating based off of the very, very limited information I know.
Yeah, well, the speculation, that's the fun part, to speculate. Yeah. I mean, my wild prediction is that he'll be assassinated, but,
I mean, it could. I don't know bin Salman seems pretty insulated, though, from what I've read. He seems like there's not a lot of people that can actually touch him. And it's not like he's popular, but whatever extremist group that would hate him for joining with Israel doesn't necessarily have the resources to come at the king.
The thing about this extremism is that the kind of people who might have this kind of extremism also might be fairly close to him. So,
they kept predicting Kim Jong-un would be assassinated, and it never happened.
Have we seen proof? Have we seen proof?
That is true. What's happening with Kim Jong-un? Eric, give me your most strident opinion about Israel.
Yeah.
All right, just like am I just going to like
let's just riff
torpedo
on
my
Israel.
career
Just
right
riff
now?
on
Yeah,
Israel. Yeah, torpedo your career. Psychedelic trance music is the worst electronic dance music, and they love it there. They love it there. That's my most strident opinion about Israel. Psytrance is the fucking worst. And if that's the type of music that country produces, no thank you.
You're out then, eh?
I'm out. I didn't go on Birthright because there was too much psytrance. But are you much of a foreign policy guy, Eric?
Beyond, I mean, I lived in the woods of Canada for about a year, and I kind of stopped looking outside our very goofy country. But I mean, I pay attention. I know generally what's going on.
Do you have like a pet country Do you have a pet country that you follow?
That you want to invade?
Yeah, I'm a big Moldova guy. No, I mean, I find that I'm paying a lot of attention to what's happening in England because I feel like one, their structure of their government reminds me of Canada's in that we kind of rip theirs off. So it's easy for me to understand what's actually happening there. And also, I mean, it is insane all the time. Like the conversations they have, like Corbyn getting kicked out of the Labour Party for like 3 days for being anti-Semitic and then being allowed back in, and then he wrote like an apology, but it wasn't really an apology, and everyone's like, that's not an apology. But I mean, he was kind of like booted unfairly, I think.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, watching how that conservative government is mishandling, destroying their country economically, while also just like letting COVID run amok is insane. I don't know. What about you guys? Who are your pet countries?
My pet countries. I'm even less versed in international politics. I don't even follow the UK. I just come up with snap decisions based on what Steven tells me.
Yeah, I like foreign politics a lot. I follow several countries in my fandoms. I like France and the UK. I like their historic rivalry. I'm always in favor of bringing that back as a way to satisfy the bloodlust of the nascent bloodlust in the EU. We could have a good war between France and England. Settle things. Who owns Brittany? Right? It's got the word Britain in it.
But it's in France. We need to settle this once and for all. I mean, everybody being under lockdown, I feel like this is the only time that we can actually settle it too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things we could do during lockdown, and it's a shame the Great Reset has become a thing, because like this really would be the perfect time to do something like universal health care. I've said this before, but when we have huge economic upheaval, that's the best time for a huge economic upheaval. It's already happening.
Yeah.
So
someone accused Naomi Klein of being in favor of disaster socialism, and she says, "Yes, I am in favor of disaster socialism. I've been advocating it since I wrote the fucking book about disaster capitalism." Like, if you analyze any sort of popular, long-lasting government entitlement from Canadian healthcare, which manifested out of intense labor issues in the prairie provinces in the early 20th century, or the NHS in England, which was founded after World War II, they all came from disaster. Pretty much everyone's national health program was implemented after a big economic upheaval. This is the time. And we don't and America can't do it because still can't destroy the insurance industry.
Well, those insurance salesmen, they got to feed their families too, right? They just got to do it on the backs of everybody.
That's true, but that's true though, and there's millions of them.
Yeah,
that's a goddamn.
Well, that's sort of. That's not quite how it works with health insurance. There aren't individual insurance salesmen. It's corporations, and you buy direct from them. The age of insurance salesmen has really decreased. It's basically just life insurance that they can sell now.
but even with these corporations, it's the programmers that make their software, it's the customer service people, it's the caseworkers, it's the all of those people.
I gotta be honest, I was just fucking around. Like I do think like the States is way overdue for some sort of socialized healthcare. I mean,
what I was thinking about was like, if how can Biden make Obamacare better? Is there any way to make it better without it become like? And the only thing I could think of was like, what they're trying to do is have the market forces that trend towards monopoly do that, and so that eventually what happens is all we have in America is one giant healthcare insurance company, and then it's going to take a Democrat with balls to nationalize it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that's the only. Is that the game plan? I mean, that's the only. Unless you get rid of Obamacare, that's the only way to like work with it to make it turn into universal healthcare.
Yeah, we're not gonna do the Trust Buster. We're gonna do the opposite. We're gonna combine Aetna and Blue Cross Blue Shield and Kaiser Permanente. They're all gonna be one big insurance company. It's gonna be called Gorebold, and everyone's gonna have Gorebold.
Gorebold.
Yeah, Gorebold.
Well, it's
Gorebold the Crusher.
I am the insurance conglomerate Gorebold the Crusher.
That is a hell of a name.
Fear me and my lovely premiums.
Oh man, we should get on a debate stage for our health insurance idea.
It's
called Gorebold the Crusher.
Yeah, I wear a rustic cardboard costume, painted red, and I'm just like. I have little bits of hamburger in the tubes in my arms, so I'm constantly ejecting hamburger and saying Gorebold. And they'll be so transfixed that they won't recognize that I'm infecting them with socialism.
Oh my god, I'd love that so much. I mean, like the thing is with a good healthcare system is as soon as you get it, people are trying to cut it down. I mean, healthcare in Canada. Has already been so passively privatized in so many little ways. Yeah. And I mean, you can see it. I'm sure this hasn't made the news in Michigan. It barely makes the news out in Toronto over here, but the goings on of Alberta and the premier out there who's basically he's made the plan to cut 11,000 healthcare jobs in the midst of a pandemic, which is one of the largest cuts to any industry across the world in 2020. So I mean, the first fight is getting it, and then it's getting it to stay without people cannibalizing it entirely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do need, and I think why it works in a crisis, and also something that I argue about. So the reason why. I think Republicans make a very good argument when they say, well, why can't we just increase taxes to the high marginal rate that they were in the 50s? And someone like Thomas Sowell will argue that, well, if you do that, then they're just going to hide their wealth in the fucking Virgin Islands or Switzerland or something like that. And that's largely true. For a certain class of people who make a certain amount of money and have access to those resources, a high marginal tax rate won't work because they will just hide their money. Or, launder it into a weird LLC or charity, like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I think, the reason why this argument is also so frustrating is because guys like Thomas Sowell helped create, these international tax instruments that people can hide their money in. So it's like, you're always saying that, you're saying that, these people won't pay because I created a system where they don't have to, which enraged me. But I think the other reason why you could get away with a 90% marginal tax rate in the 50s that rich people would largely pay for is because rich people were just as affected by, the continent-wide trauma of World War I and II, not as much as, say, someone on the ground, but it definitely put the fear of God into a lot of people, which is why I think there was a greater communitarian spirit even amongst plutocrats in 1950s America, which is why because the culture was different, because they had just come off of this monumental, world-changing, disastrous 30 years, there was this sense, even amongst the most selfish and evil, to help rebuild. And so we just need another one of those, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I come to that conclusion sometimes, but it's not good.
Yeah. No, I don't think it would work. There's no guarantee that making another World War II will result in socialist paradise.
It's not good because we got nukes now.
You know what that is? That's the Sephiroth strategy. Because in Final Fantasy VII, Sephiroth wants to injure the planet and create a cut so large that all of the life stream goes to it so that he can gather it and ascend to the power of godliness. And so, that's what basically I'm arguing. The Sephiroth technique.
Isn't it also like the Ozymandias thing from The Watchmen, where he brings in the tentacle monster to kill millions of people?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I was just Googling the blue guy from Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan. Because I was just about to say, we need someone like Dr. Manhattan to come disable all the nukes so we can have a good old-fashioned war. One where we can do everything, that the barbarous spirit of humans wants to do without actually destroying the planet for everyone.
Yeah. Knife war. Let's just have a good old-fashioned knife war.
Get
rid of the gun. No guns.
Roll up your sleeves, sharpen your knives, and get going.
We're going to have a knife war! Yeah! It's going to be the decade of long knives. Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm into a knife war, guys. That sounds fun.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I wouldn't want to be stabbed.
A lot of stab wounds are going to be happening, I'd rather be shot than stabbed. Actually,
no, you wouldn't.
Yeah, it depends where.
No, you wouldn't, because the bullet expands and fragments.
Yeah, you're right.
I think both would be bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying it would be fun from an observer's perspective. I mean, I think I have enough injuries to be able to opt out. I'm sure there's a form that they would give you for knife war.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely going to be a form.
Yeah. And at the bottom, it's do you have any injuries that would prevent you from participating in knife war? And I would check the box yes, and I would mail it. And in 4 to 6 days, the Canadian government would find out that I would not be eligible for knife infantry. I don't know.
You just have to, watch out. You hand it to the mailman who won't knife you immediately. Knife war. Oh.
If you don't have a STEM degree, they make you pin your knife to your jacket because they think you're stupid.
They're making the smart people do the knife war.
Yeah, we'll send all the engineering majors to do the knife war.
Then they'll just be like, "This is a knife that blows up like a bomb."
Yeah, these are trick knives. But no, then the war referee will come in and expel them from the knife war. No incendiary weapons.
Good.
Only stabbing.
Yeah, they'd have extendy knives that would reach across.
Yeah, maybe extendy knife, but
possibly projectile knives. Which would really.
Yeah. But, we draw the line at a machete.
Yeah, exactly. Don't want to ruin the spirit of knife
throwing
war.
Knives. Yeah. Can't have a katana. Can't have a machete. We might allow a wakizashi.
Wakizashi?
But no katana.
What the?
No, wait, I'm saying that wrong.
What the?
Isn't a wakizashi a short sword what the samurai used?
I don't know. I need to read more Mishima. Right-wing,
yes, you do.
Right-wing gay author Mishima, who I just learned about his attempted coup in Japan.
Yeah, and then subsequent seppuku.
Yeah,
that was a real knife war. He was
that guy was trying to start knife war. Eric, do you know Mishima?
No, I'm learning about him right now. Tell me everything.
Crazy guy. Tried to take over as emperor.
Yeah, he wanted to create. He was an ultra nationalist. He was also an author and poet, he wanted to. Who did he attempt to assassinate? The emperor or the prime minister?
I'm not sure. I kind of glossed over it, but people hold him. Yeah. People have a little bit of a soft spot for him, which I think is understandable because Japan was sort of thrust into the world without it, most of the people wanting to be. They wanted to stay isolated as a sort of an island nation. We now respect island people who don't want to interact with the world. We did not in the 18th century.
Well, yeah, America at the time.
Right, America.
Knock, knock, it's America.
Hey, come trade with us or we'll shoot you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Mishima wanted to return to some kind of traditional, super conservative. He's a reactionary, basically. But he has a soft spot in people's hearts because,
knife war-related ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a real make Japan great again type of thing. In a way that he did, because, no Mishima, no Dragon Ball Z. So we have him to thank.
Do it really?
No. What are you talking about?
I didn't know. I don't know.
Akira Toriyama said that his greatest influence with Dragon Ball Z was the ultra-nationalist writings of Mishima, which is why you also see a lot of homoeroticism in Dragon Ball Z. Actually, I'm starting to convince myself.
I don't know if you're joking.
I'm like, that tracks for me. I don't know.
I don't think Dragon Ball Z. It doesn't take place in Japan. It takes place in a fictional universe. I'm trying to think of like a manga that could be interpreted as very right wing or like pro Japanese.
Oh God, I don't want to have to Google right wing manga, but I'm going to.
You're gonna Google right wing manga? Oh no! Oh no! What's happening?
No.
A lot of manga authors are not a lot, but there's a lot of the themes of One Piece or Naruto or other popular anime don't necessarily tend to be right-leaning. Of course, there are problems with it. There's problematic parts in One Piece.
Oh man, I found a great article here though. It's called Manga History in Japan's Right-Wing Fringe. The cultural battle for Japan's history is being waged in manga, from The Diplomat.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I could see, like I'm thinking back to some goofy classes I took in my Bachelor of Arts undergrad. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Ghost in the Shell has some certain iconography that you're like, that seems interesting. Very pro-military and pro-intelligence agency. And then, I mean, Evangelion is kind of weird as well. Like, but that's kind of like a dystopian future where
it doesn't really have a political. No. Evangelion's more about like being a depressed kid than it is like having a political point of view.
Yeah, no,
has a psychological point of view.
I would say like the world that it's created in the cities that can like wall themselves over and the position that certain defense leaders have in society, I think. You could probably drill into that a little bit, but I agree that it's a story about a child who doesn't seem to have a whole lot of friends, and robots, of course.
Like I was trying to think, is Dragon Ball Z actually right wing? And like if you investigate it, so the character Frieza, Akira Toriyama said the character Frieza was based on real estate speculation, and that's absolutely true. Because what Frieza does is he goes to a planet, he evaluates it for its resources, mines all the resources, and then blows up the planet.
Cuts Krillin in half with the Destructo disc.
He does cut Krillin in half with a Destructo disc, and he's also effeminate, which we all know means he's a villain. But yeah, I think whatever brief politics that Dragon Ball does enter in, it's not like hating real estate speculation is not exactly a right wing position. No. So it's sort of hard to read those. You could say it's like, traditionally it embodies traditional masculinity or toxic masculinity. Kinda, not really. I guess it's way more homoerotic than that. But I guess that is traditional masculinity. But people don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
If we're getting Greek here,
man, I wish Marino was here. He would be having the best time ever talking about Dragon Ball Z. He's
we should. We'll invite him on for the anime episode.
He would love that.
Yeah, we have a planned anime episode in the works. I think we planned it before.
Yeah, we should. I think we should have I think that would be really interesting, talking about anime vis-a-vis its appropriation by the right wing, and you know how you see all these right wing people with like Lucky Star avatars, or this fascism aesthetic, which presents itself as cutesy, this cutesy fascist aesthetic. But how, you know, then on the other spectrum you have trans cat girls all the time. You know, why does the internet sort of gravitate towards this cloying cuteness as a form of a cultural flashpoint? What does it say about us?
Not to dive into that episode, but like I think some of that has to come from the fact that a lot of these weird reactionary right wing spaces like slash poll on 4chan exist in Congress with anime image boards, right? Like it sort of it borrows its aesthetic from the other places that they can go chat on their little safe spaces or forums, right? Like that might be the place where
actually
it might be born from.
You know what you're saying is it's giving me a brainwave. I think what it all comes down to, so you know how anime is very consistently right wing, or is very consistently aligns to one of the beliefs these QAnon or internet Nazi types have, is in its treatment of women. Because, Dragon Ball Z, it has, token female characters. Videl can do something, but, women are largely, sidelined or made less powerful throughout the series, or, given less agency than all of the male characters, and sort of can be treated as rewards, essentially, by the male characters for doing good. As Android 18, she's who's like the most well-developed female character in the series. Still, she is Krillin's reward for Krillin being a good boy.
A devastating moment in the series, to be honest.
Yeah. Android 18, you can do better.
Yeah,
Android 18.
aim higher. I don't care how much hair he grows.
No, Short King Krillin. we gotta love Short King Krillin. But I think even in the other ones I meant, shonen manga, like One Piece too, has a problem with objectification of its female characters, who are very well developed and grow more developed as the series goes on. But yeah, you see Aiichiro Oda drawing them as more explicitly sexual and putting them into more sort of compromising situations where they lack agency over the story. And I think that perception of women can sort of inform an alienated base of people that want that sort of subservient, objectified women. And from that flows the rest of the right-wing ideology. From that sort of incel, not having the type of subservient sex partner you want. From that flows the rest of it. Maybe. That's just a theory.
It's a good theory.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't want to add to that at all, because I feel like that was pretty much start finish. Good point.
Yeah. Well, that's good, because we've reached the end of our time, so now's a good time for plugs. Eric, what do you
Eric,
got to plug?
Thank you for being on. What are you plugging?
Oh man, well I kind of plugged us in the middle of the show again, because I am a horrible shill for the work that I'm doing these days. But yeah, listen to Big Shiny Takes. Even if you're not from Canada, I think you would laugh at the terrible columns that get published in the little country of Canada up above the United States. The columnists are terrible. The opinions are equally bad, if not worse, than the things that you would hear on Fox News or on Breitbart or any of the silly places that your weird uncle gets his information from. Yeah, check us out. It's just BigShinyTakes.com. You can find us on Twitter, Big Shiny Takes. Boys, this is like, I'm so happy I've been on the show.
Oh, yeah, we're happy you're on the show. We love Big Shiny Takes, and both of us have appeared on that show at different points. So
yeah, and
it's good. Great to have you on.
We'd love to continue this collaboration. Fuck Adamson barbecue, eat Stockyards barbecue, eat jerk chicken instead. Peace.
Good night.